Award shows are pretty dumb. Art is subjective, all of that good stuff. However, I do love them with all of my heart because I like looking and analyzing about what these award bodies think about, what the general public is thinking at the time, looking back on them, trying to figure out what's going to get nominated, what's going to win, because it's never as cut and dry as this is the best thing and this is what deserves to win. There's always some other factors interfering with the decisions. And I feel like that's what makes them so fun. And I've tried to apply that to the Game Awards as much as I can. I think the actual awards, what's going to win them, is pretty uninteresting and doesn't really amount to much. However, as I've found over the years, the most interesting thing about the Game Awards is trying to figure out what is going to get nominated for Game of the Year, because I think there actually are through lines here, and they are decently figure outable, but there are always a lot of options, so you kind of have to play and look at the past and figure out all of that stuff. It's really interesting to me. I kind of just wanted to share this very weird hobby I have with the world and see if anybody likes it or joins it. Maybe there's other people who do this. I've never heard of anybody else talking about the Game Awards, so please enjoy. This is a different kind of video, I know, but I really like this stuff, so please, I really appreciate the support. Basically, I watch the Game Awards every year. They're fun. I like award shows. I think they kind of suck. They're really just advertisements, and actually trying to figure out what's going to win each award is very easy, and there's nothing to it. But the one thing that I find interesting about the Game Awards is trying to figure out what is going to get nominated for Game of the Year. Not what's going to win it. I feel like every single year it's been super duper easy to figure that out. But trying to figure out what 6 games are getting nominated for Game of the Year, that's pretty fun. So that's what we're going to be doing today. What are my credentials? Well, I've done this for a long time. The first time I tried to make predictions about it was 2018, and I got all 6 of them right. In fact, I had 5 of them as my predictions. I had Spider-Man, God of War, Red Dead, Celeste, and Monster Hunter. And then I was like, if they were to do a 6th, it would be Assassin's Creed. And guess what? It was Assassin's Creed. So, and from the years on, I've been doing them. Some years I've missed before, like I haven't done it in time before they announced them. Last year, you can see I have my little old spreadsheet version with all of them, and I got 5 out of 6 of them correct, which was fun. I do a little thing. Maybe I'll start doing with my community about trying to figure out what's going to be Game of the Year. But we're halfway through the year, almost. So I decided, let's go ahead and rank the chances that these games are going to get Game of the Year nominations. So, what are my credentials? Or not credentials. What am I going off of, right? Like, how do you figure out what is going to be Game of the Year? Well, most of the time they are AAA releases, right? Most of the time they're going to be something AAA or something very prolific, right? Occasionally indie games slip in there, typically one a year if that's going to happen. And they really got to set the world on fire or be like really, really good. 2025 nominations will be like GTA 6, GTA 6. No, 2025 is looking, I don't want to call it stacked per se, but it's looking pretty good. But I'll do a video at the end of the year and be like, oh, it's super early 2025. But E3 is over. Sorry, Summer Games Fest or whatever. Summer stuff is over. So we have most of the releases that are going to come out this year that are going to be worth looking at in some form or fashion. Yeah, most of them are going to be AAA. Most of them are going to be critic darlings. Most of the committee is critics, right? It is big publication group. So if it hit with the critics, it's going to hit with the Game Awards. And that's important because the critics always get one pick that isn't that super popular. But gets in, right? It's going to be like your Control, right? Like it was popular, it was good, but that's like a critic one, right? Your Psychonauts 2. Sometimes, Alan Wake kind of blew up. Control did too, but like that's, they have like a more niche pick. I'm excited for the new Doom game. That is probably my most anticipated game like right now is the new Doom game. And that is next year. I say unfortunately, but I don't care. If it's good, it's good. Anyways, so that's a lot of what we're going to be going. And every game I'm going to go through, I'll just tell you what I'm thinking. You'll kind of get an idea of why. Before we go into this, let's talk about last year, because last year was an interesting case. We'll talk about like the top here. So the locked in ones are like your 10 out of 10s everywhere, nothing stopping them. Games that are locked in, like Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate, of course, right? Like nobody can stop talking about them. Huge cultural impact. Everybody loves them. Locked in, right? Other examples of this are like God of War Ragnarok. Of course that's going to get locked in, right? The Last of Us 2. Critic-wise, obviously locked in, right? 2021, Deathloop. Deathloop was a critic darling. Always going to be in. I think Marvel Rivals full release is next year. But the Game Awards are weird, and sometimes they'll nominate games that didn't technically come out that year. Among Us got nominated for stuff in 2020, although it came out in 2018. So PUBG early access stuff gets nominated all the time. So, that stuff. The ones that have a very good shot are like those critic darling games that are like basically fighting for the other couple slots, right? Very big releases: Mario, Final Fantasy 16, Alan Wake, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Lies of P, right? Those are your very, very, very good games. Everybody likes them from both sides. Those are the ones that are kind of fighting for each other. The decent odd ones are going to be like your big prolific games that everybody likes, but aren't necessarily like game of the year, game breaking potential, right? So like Pikmin 4 is a very good game. I love Pikmin 4. Everybody loves Pikmin. But is it really good enough and game changing enough to be nominated for game of the year? You may think so. I kind of think so. But does the general gaming populace of journalists think so? Probably not. Hi-Fi Rush is like a decent odds. Like, that was pretty good, but it's from a smaller studio. Came out really early in the year. Who knows, right? Didn't end up happening, right? Jedi Survivor, typically the reviews were pretty good. Had some rough technical problems. But again, not like a game changer, right? Big prolific AAA release, not a game changer. Diablo 4, big Blizzard game, very well received, but again, it didn't blow everyone's socks off, right? It wasn't one of these games. It was just good. And then of course, indie games have a really tough time getting in there and finding their way. So Pizza Tower I had in here was like a very big indie game everybody loved, probably loved more than a lot of these games in general, but it's an indie game, so it's fighting a different battle. Okay. With that being said, let's go ahead and start putting these things on the board. This side are the release games where we have a general idea of what critics liked about them. This side are the unreleased games. We're kind of just shooting in the dark based on what we've seen and what we think might happen, all of that. So, right off the bat, the first big game of the year, Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. I think this has a pretty good shot. Now, it did come out really early, but the reviews for this thing were off the charts. I say off the charts. For this kind of game, for like a mid-budget Ubisoft game, reviews for this were really good. So, I think this definitely has a shot of getting in there. And I may put it down to decent odds if I feel like this is getting too crowded. But I do think Prince of Persia, there is a world. There is definitely a world. It's a good platforming representative here, so I can see it happening. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, I'm going to put it as a dark horse because it was reviewed really well, but it's just another Like a Dragon game. They're good. Nothing wrong with Like a Dragon, but is there a reason to nominate this one for Game of the Year over other games? Probably not, right? And it didn't light the world on fire. It was just like it came out and it was really good. But, that's kind of it, right? Tekken 8. This is, Street Fighter 6 didn't make it last year. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that Tekken 8's probably not going to make it. But well received. Very good fighting game. Doubt it's going to actually happen. But I'm going to put it in decent odds just because of its reception. Granblue Fantasy Relink, I'm going to say probably not. I think people like this game, but doesn't really have... It's pretty niche, and it's not, like, that good enough to get there. Persona 3 Reload, I'm going to put in Dark Horse, but it is just a remake. Remakes do make their way into these things before. Also, a lot of remasters and like pretty not low effort, but like remakes that don't do that much transformatively to the games. I don't have Thousand Year Door on here, stuff like that. Those have been kind of taken off the list because we've seen time and again those kinds of remakes don't typically make it on here. Resident Evil 4, that's transformative. Resident Evil 2, that's transformative. Final Fantasy 7, transformative, basically like a reimagining. Those are fine. Those will stay on the list at least. Other like just like this is like the graphics are better and there's some quality of life stuff, right? Well, we're gonna keep those. I have P3 in here just because they always add stuff to Persona games, but I'm not convinced, right? I don't think there's a reason to nominate this one for Game of the Year. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No way. Not gonna happen. Now, interesting one here. Helldivers 2. I'm gonna say that's pretty likely. That's pretty likely. This game has blown up. Like, it is blown up recently. Like, when it came out. And it has been very, very popular. I think that this might not be one of the top 6 games of the year, quality-wise, but just for the sheer impact it had. Oh, I don't have Palworld on here. Hold on. Anyways, I think Helldivers 2 has a really good shot. Speaking of games with big cultural impact, no. Game of the Year? No. Palworld? No. No way. I don't see it. It was funny, or some people find it funny. I don't know. Okay, Skull and Bones, one I just got for $20, 20 bones, if you will. The first quadruple A game ever. Nah. This one dead in the water. I need to stop these. I don't mean it. I don't mean the puns. I promise. No, I mean, like, this game did not do anything for anybody. It didn't review particularly well, and it's just been forgotten, and it just kind of came out, and Ubisoft spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this. Not gonna happen. Balatro. There's 2 indie games on this list that I think have a chance to get Game of the Year. Balatro is one of them, but it's not the number one, so I'm gonna put it at decent odds. But I don't think that this is going to be one of those kind of games, right? I don't think this is going to be the indie game that breaks it. It's a very good time. I love this game, but not quite there, right? It's not quite where it needs to be. Indie game, Penny's Big Breakaway, Game of the Year, probably not. It's a good game, but I honestly debated even putting it on this list. I don't even think it's in the conversation. Okay, I'm going to spoil this list. This is the only lock. This is the only lock I have. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Duh. Best review game of the year, I'm pretty sure. Final Fantasy VII Remake got nominated for Game of the Year. This is going to be there. Of course it's going to be there. In fact, I think, and we'll get to something interesting later, this has the definite best shot of getting nominated for Game of the Year. It might not have the best shot of winning Game of the Year, and we'll talk about that. But, of course, it's going to be here. Dragon's Dogma 2, very well received. Kind of lit the world on fire for a week or two. I'm going to put it at very good shot. In fact, I think when I make my list, I will probably have Dragon's Dogma on there. Revitalization of an old franchise. Such a good swan song. Such an interesting, unique game for this... for 2024. This game was really fun. I think it has plenty of flaws, but this seems like a Game of the Year. Like, this seems like the more niche pick. Although it did sell really well, this seems like the nicher side of the critics sphere. So Dragon's Dogma 2 I think is a really good shot. Princess Peach Showtime. I'll be nice. I'll give it a dark horse, but it's actually I'm not gonna be nice. It's not quite there, right? It's not really what I think they're looking for. It's a lot. I played it. It's for kids. Like let's be real. It's for kids. It's not really that engaging overall. Rise of the Ronin. big PlayStation release. I'm hesitant of putting it in good shot because I think it's just okay, and I don't think it was really. It's really high selling, but I feel like critics didn't even like it that much. Came out on the same day as Dragon's Dogma 2, so it was like the lesser one, right? I'll put it at decent odds for now. It's definitely like a prolific Team Ninja, you know, Neo developers, so it could be there, but I'm not convinced. Like, I'm not convinced about it, especially with the whole catalog of games we have to get through. Kale, I don't know if you guys heard about this game. This was like a Metroidvania, Tales of Kensera. I just wanted to put it on here because it was at like Summer Games Fest, and there was a whole controversy surrounding it. I'm just gonna put it in probably not. Nothing against it. It's just an indie game that isn't the indie game of the year. So, Stellar Blade, I think was received okay. So we'll put it in decent odds, but I wouldn't count on it. In fact, I would maybe put it in Dark Horse. Okay, here's the indie game that we should look out for. It's Animal Well. This was received way better than anyone was anticipating, I think. I think people thought it would be good, but I think a lot of people really love this game. I think it's pretty good. So if there's going to be an indie rep that's going to be Game of the Year this year, it's going to be Animal Well, unless something else comes out and knocks our socks off. Oh, I need to put something. I need to put another asterisk. In fact, we'll talk about that later. Hellblade 2. This is what I would have thought would put in that niche critic slot, right? And I think critics really did like it, but I'm not convinced either. I think there was a lot about this game where some people didn't like it that much, and it was a little disappointing compared to the first one. I feel that. I get it. I played it. I liked it overall. But I do understand the disappointment that some people had. So that's a weird one. I would look out for Hellblade. I'm not going to put it in decent odds because it is just so right up their alley. But also remember, the first Hellblade did not get nominated for Game of the Year in 2017. So who knows, right? It could be there, it could not. I have Avatar on here. I know it came out last year, but it came out in December, so it technically qualifies for this year since it didn't for last year. But I'm just going to go ahead and say probably not. Nobody really cares. It's not very good. So we're gonna rock with that one for right now. I might have to add another row. Oh wait, no. I have this whole side. Another Crab's Treasure. Game of the Year, though. That's a dark horse, right? So Souls-like, people really like it, but I can't see this slipping in there as like Game of the Year material. I played this one. It was a lot of fun. It was surprisingly more fun than I thought it was going to be. I liked it way more than I initially thought. So that's an interesting one. Here, I'm going to add another one with a big asterisk. Hades 2. And while I'm at it, No Rest for the Wicked. And the reason I'm putting these in here is that they are both early access that came out this year. So Hades 2 is early access, and if they wanted to go for it, it has good odds. It has very good odds. Hades was nominated for Game of the Year in 2020. However, Hades blew up in 2020, right? The early access was in 2018, and then it actually came out in 2020, but that's when it blew up. Hades 2, definitely blowing up now, because everybody likes Hades now. So, this, if they wanted to do it, they could, right? And that's a hard call, right? Are they going to put the early access game in there? That's tough. Speaking of early access, No Rest for the Wicked, developed by Moon Studios. Moon Studios developed Ori and the Blind Forest. Very, very highly received, very well made. I'm going to put it Dark Horse because I don't think No Rest for the Wicked has really gotten its footing like Ori has. So I'm not gonna count that one so much. Here is this is the biggest question. The biggest question mark of the whole thing, right? We're now on the unreleased game, so we're just in conjecture mode. But the reviews for this game came out today. When I filmed this wasn't out yet. Shadow of the Erdtree, Elden Ring. Do they count it? Do they make a DLC Game of the Year? It's a really tough question. Blood and Wine for Witcher 3 didn't count, but also was in a crowded year. 2016 was Doom, Titanfall 2, Inside, Uncharted 4, Overwatch. There's a lot in there. Can you fit in a DLC in that lineup? Probably not. Can you fit in a DLC of this lineup for FromSoft? I think you can. And I think they will. And I'm not going to put it in a lock. But this is a very good shot. Like, we gotta be ready for Shadow of the Erdtree to be in Game of the Year. I think it could happen. And I think it might happen. I think it will. But I'm not going to put it in locked because of that. If it gets it, if it is in the Game of the Year conversation, I think it wins. Unironically, if it gets nominated for Game of the Year, I think it wins. The hardest hurdle is getting that nomination. Okay, next, Black Myth Wukong. This is a very good shot, and depending on how this reviews when it comes out, because I think a lot of people are excited for this game, it looks really sick. This could be the other lock of the year. There's a possibility for it. But we'll have to see. Very anticipated. It's apparently not a Souls-like, but I can see this game being really, really popular and really good. So definitely keep an eye on this one. Concord, this is PlayStation's hero shooter. I'm going to say probably not. The initial reactions to this game were not good. So yeah, be careful with Concord. I don't think it's going to go over very well. Star Wars Outlaws. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and put this one in good shot. It looks like a standard, like it's a Ubisoft game. It's an open world Ubisoft game, but it could have the sauce, right? And it's Star Wars, so it's already crowd pleasing for the general gaming populace. So there's a possibility that Star Wars Outlaws weasels its way in there. And again, this side of the graph is going to be swapping over the year, depending on how games are reviewed. But for right now, I definitely think Outlaws has a good shot. Stalker 2 is interesting. This screams niche reviewer. I'll move this over here so you can see it better. This screams niche critic pick. It's going to be really weird, isometric. Probably not feel like a modern game. I'm not going to put it in good shot until it comes out, but keep an eye on this one, like for real. Astrobot. I can't believe I'm also going to put Astrobot in very good shot. This is going to be platformers coming back to Sony in a very big way. This is Sony's big release for the year, unironically. And it looks great. And I think people are going to want to celebrate this. There's no Mario. There's no Nintendo platformer to compete with this year. I think they're going to want to celebrate this. If this game comes out and has like 10 out of 10s across the board, I'm putting it in locked. But for right now, I'm going to keep it very good shot. I cannot, in good conscience, lock anything on this side of the board just because of what's coming out, but keep an eye out. Metaphor, dude, again, very good shot for Metaphor because it is an Atlas game and it's a new thing coming out this year. So again, definitely keep an eye out for this one. We'll have to see. Again, I feel like a broken record. Call of Duty, probably not. They never get nominated. Sometimes they get random tech awards nominations, but they never actually win. Their campaigns suck. Nobody cares. This one's not going to do anything new. It's a yearly release. Just going to go over it. Life is Strange. I'm going to go ahead and put as a dark horse here. Life is Strange has never lit the goatees on fire, at least in terms of game of the year. And there's been plenty of them, and I feel like people even like True Colors a lot more, and that one's still getting get anywhere close. And I doubt this one will either. It'll just be a fine one. You might see it nominated somewhere. Assassin's Creed Shadows. This looks like an Assassin's Creed game that people are going to like. And Assassin's Creed games have been nominated before, so we have to always keep that in mind. We'll have to see what the actual reviews are, but it does have a good shot. I have a lot of games in good shot, by the way. In fact, way more than I was anticipating, so I might have to swap some things around. Speaking of, we'll do this here, and we'll do this here, because I think Assassin's Creed is more likely. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Avowed. I'm going to put decent odds for Avowed. That is an Obsidian RPG. This is Obsidian Skyrim. Outer Worlds, was nominated for Game of the Year in 2019. 2019 was a bad year. I say a bad year. Slow year. Softer year. So that's probably what happened there. And I think if we were to redo that, like now, with the games that we had, I think Disco Elysium and Outer Wilds would both take its place in either one of those. So I think that was just a fluke, so I'm not going to go with Avowed. But if it's really good, who knows? Because they love them some Obsidian. The critics love Obsidian. So Dragon Age is coming out this year too. Careful with Dragon Age. I literally have to put it in good shot because Dragon Age Inquisition won Game of the Year a decade ago. Dragon Age Inquisition won Game of the Year. Veilguard looks good. I think people are going to like it. It looks like BioWare is getting back to what their roots are. Look out for Dragon Age. Look out for it. The Plucky Squire. This is an indie game that is apparently coming out this year, and it looks really cool. And it's like you play in the storybook in a 2D world, and then you hop out of the storybook and do puzzles in and out of those two forms. And they like mix with each other. If it comes out this year, this could be the one indie game that sets the world on fire. I am very excited for this one. I think a lot of people have their eyes on this. If it is good, if it's as good as it looks, it could replace Animal Well. We'll have to see. I'm not gonna go for it just yet. We'll have to see if it even launches this year. Rivals 2 is a fighting game, and I just thought to put it in here for shits and giggles. It's not gonna get anywhere close. It better win Fighting Game of the Year. It better not be Multiverses again. The Wolf Among Us 2 is apparently coming out this year. It's going to be Telltale coming back. I'm going to put it as Dark Horse. I doubt it. I don't think it's going to be very popular. So I'm not going to count on it. I just wanted to throw it in here. And this morning, 2 more games were added to the list because of the Nintendo Direct. That's going to be Mario and Luigi Brothership, which I'll put as a Dark Horse because it's a Mario RPG. It's a new one. But I doubt they'll go for it unless it's really, really good. Then we can start talking about it for real. But it's probably just going to be like one of those nice games that, I'll probably really enjoy. I've been playing the Mario RPGs recently and I've been liking them. So the other one, which we really got to look out for, is Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. New Zelda game. It's not a remake. It uses the Link's Awakening assets, but it is new. It stars Zelda. It is a completely different type of game with the items, mechanics, and all of that stuff. I'm tempted to put it in decent odds, but since it is Zelda, I can't look away, right? I cannot ignore a new Zelda entry, especially new 2D Zelda. It's been over a decade since 2D Zelda, a completely new one. So that's not true. Triforce Heroes. Anyways, maybe it has been over a decade. Anyway, about the ones we care about. So I'm gonna put Zelda here, and we'll talk about it. We'll take a look into it. So, with that being said, with the list in here, what am I thinking? Right? What am I thinking is getting nominated at this point? 6 games. If I had to pick, I'm gonna go with FF7, Shadow of the Erdtree. I think they'll do it. I think they might do it. It's going to be hard for them not to, right? There's no rule against it, we don't think. So I'm going to put Shadow of the Erdtree. I'm going to put Black Myth Wukong. From here, I'm going to go with Helldivers 2. Ooh. I'm going to go Astrobot. And then this last pick is I think these picks are, we don't have a good image yet, and I think around October we'll know a lot better. Jesus. I'm not I don't believe in Dragon Age. I don't believe in Assassin's Creed. I don't believe in Zelda. I have all these. I don't think they'll go for Hades too. I don't believe in Hellblade. I think Lost Crown could do it. I think I'm gonna have to go for Dragon's Dogma. That leaves no indie pick this year, but yeah, I think this is right now as of June 18th, 2024. These are my Game of the Year nominees. That's what I've got. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Black Myth Wukong, Helldivers 2, Astrobot, and Dragon's Dogma 2. And with that, that's going to be the video. Thank you guys for watching the video. I will probably have a Game of the Year stuff later in the year, but obviously right now we're nowhere close to the end of the year, so don't expect too much more of this kind of stuff from me until later. But if you liked it, please like, comment, subscribe. I do really appreciate that kind of stuff. Let me know what your predictions are so far, and if you see this later in the year, were we right? Were we wrong at this point? Who knows, right? Otherwise, you know, I stream this live on Twitch, twitch.tv/LaneHemingway. Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays is when I'm live. And if you want to get in on my socials, Discord, all that in the description is where you'll find them. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day.